So before the battery died, I have to recharge these batteries. Anyway, another day here at the Freedom Tower, Tower of Power, the freedom to do art in America. That's what it's all about. Doing what you want. If you don't like it, go move to a communist country. Anyway, so I always checking my hair. Last time I looked like Gumby. Now I don't even know what I look like. It depends on a lot of things. Is this even angled correct? There you go. Now that looks right. Do I look like I'm sunken in eyes? I don't know. I was in a lot of pain yesterday, so I'm a little bit tired from that. I slept okay though. So I don't know if anybody's even watched these things, but so the news is that the movie that I said, and you could find it on my channel here. I don't want to start talking like a YouTuber. Anyway, on the channel, there's a video, Sons of Woodhaven. It's the movie that I put two old movies that I worked on together into one movie. That seems to be a much better movie than the two were independently. And at this point, it has 15,000 views, which is a big deal for me because who am I, right? I'm going to look at my phone. I'm just going to double check, see if there's any progress, even more progress being made. Hold on. Well, I don't want to live. Yeah, no dead air. No dead air. I was taught not to have dead air as a child when I used to study radio. Yeah, 15,000 15,000 views, which is, yeah, for 2 weeks for nobody. Like, what did I get? Like maybe we get 5 views for these things that I'm doing now. So I was sitting there thinking like, well, so yeah, the other movies have less than 1,000. The movies separately have less than 1,000 views, I believe. This one together has 15,000. So I was like, and I'm thinking like, why? What happened? I don't know if the algorithm. I don't know who's watching this. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the analytics, but I can't really make heads or tails out of it. And then I'm just like, and I forwarded to a couple of friends of mine, and I'm like, I think I just tapped into a demographic that no people don't tap into anymore. The two characters are frustrated white males in their 20s. They don't make movies like that anymore. They don't make Taxi Drivers anymore. They don't have these kinds of. That's my phone. I'm not farting. Why, who's texting me now? Nobody's texting me all day. And then this is what I get right away. All right, so it's just more stuff. Anyway, so yeah, no one is so everything with the girl bosses and the superheroes and all this kind of stuff. No one can relate to. People cannot relate to movies anymore. That's basically it. The American audience, this male American audience has no one to tap into anymore. They don't see movies about them. They don't see movies about their problems because that's what the movie's about. It's just, these are both dramas, and very realistic dramas. People going through intense stuff with their parents and poverty and neighborhood stuff and stuff. A lot of unpleasant topics. The fates of the characters are pretty terrible. These are not happy movies. They don't send you to a better place. And I feel like I tapped into an audience that everyone forgot about. Same thing like comedies, though. They don't make comedies anymore. That was a thing many years ago because comedies, I've heard, they have a lot of trouble selling them in overseas markets, like China and things like that. So stuff like superheroes, where everything is like boom, crash, explosion, robots, that's a lot easier to translate than a goofy rom-com or just a comedy movie in general. So I think I maybe I found my audience. Frustrated males in their 20s. Good, I get it. I was there. Those were how those characters were written, and that's who I was back then, and that's the other guy that I work with, this guy Doug Russo. That's what he wrote about back then, and just like, and no one listening to you, and you see how it's like in that no one listens to that demographic. That demographic was written out of the American narrative, and it's terrible. You want to call it reverse racism, call it whatever, but that's so. You turn on HBO, you turn on any of these TV shows. I don't see me, and these people that are watching this movie, the 15,000 that just all of a sudden watch this movie, they're like, oh, that's me. That's who I am. People don't see this because there's nothing that caters to that audience anymore. And these movies at the time, I don't think they weren't that great. But and I did actually some editing. I didn't even watch the thing. I was just kind of scanning through it, and I should be watching my own stuff. But I butchered it quick, threw it together, and I was actually surprised with the result. And but it's kind of one of those things where it's like the result is kind of like after the fact, that I wouldn't be talking about any of this if it wasn't for the viewership. Like if it just was like if there was like 100 views or 50, I wouldn't go through this deep analysis mode, of course. But now it's just like, oh, did I tap into something? Did I tap into the American or world psyche of like, there's no movies about us anymore. There's no movies about our hardships, our masculinity, because the whole world got feminized. They basically just pumped this whole country and this whole world full of estrogen, and just let it try to kill it off with estrogen. It's just like no divine femininity. We're done with that. There's no strong female characters. I couldn't write a strong female character if you paid me. I don't even care. That's your job. If your job as a female is to write about females, my job as a male is to write about males and their strife. And I always, I understand that mind. I understand frustration. I understand a lot of things. And the fact that people, they just brush off the male, the misogyny and all that stuff. It's not about misogyny. I don't even like using these stupid words. They only invent these words in order to put and belittle people. And it's just like, and right now, and a lot of people, I guess, maybe friends and family. I'm a turbulent sort of person. I've been going through a lot of turbulence for quite some time, but also giving yourself leeway, giving yourself the right to be turbulent. The right to give yourself. Well, I already talked about this, but like a wide berth. And then you understand. And then I see movies like this one that I put together, and it's just like, yeah, this is exactly that voice. That's what's going on now. This is why things are the way they are. And the more that we dismiss, toxic males, it's not toxic or toxic. It's just that's males. It's just the male mind. It's like we're trying to do things, and a lot of that energy, there's a lot of anger, and that anger can be focused into better things. I focused my anger a majority of my life towards the arts. And to focus on the arts, which is extremely hard. This is a tough business. I couldn't pick something worse if I even wanted to. But it's still like I make a go of it and I push into it because I have to take all the negative energy that I have inside of me and put it towards something. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Positive here. That's not my goal. It's just that I know I can use this energy to create or destroy. Either you're what is it? Either you're Krishna or you're Shiva. I think that's the kind of like duality there. Either you make or you destroy. End of story. So, anyway, and I'm not going to be little. I'm like, oh yeah, only 15,000 views. No, that's I care, and you have to celebrate victories, even if they're small victories. It matters. It puts a little pep in your step, then fine. That's okay. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Don't let anyone just push you, just push you aside and be like, oh, no. Stand your ground. Be proud of the things that you do. Don't be a chooch, because there's so many chooches out there. And when the reckoning comes, all the choo-choos are going to go, while you might still stand. Anyway, that's I hit my mark here. You know the reason I do it at 10-minute mark, because this thing likes to go to another. Um, it's after like 10 minutes somewhere in that arena, then it jumps into like another file, and I don't like that, because then I have to merge these things again. I'm too lazy to edit. But anyway, and another text message. So yeah, I'm gonna go right now. See you later.